Team Unity Coalition, success at the polls in the 2015 general elections. The coalition comprises the People's Action Movement, also referred to as PAM, the People's Labour Party, or PLP, and the Nevis-based Concerned Citizens Movement, or CCM. The coalition is now serving its second term in office, having won the June 2020 general elections. This evening, we will hear from three special guests. They are Deputy Prime Minister, the Honorable Sean Richards, the Honorable Janelle Powell, and the Honorable Akila Byron Nisbet. Unfortunately, we will not be joined by Prime Minister Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris this evening, as he had other commitments, but I'm certain that wherever he is, he misses you dearly. Now, we are going to begin with opening presentations from our guests, as is the norm, and then we will have a segment of the program where we open our phone lines and social media platforms to hear from you. If you're tuning in via radio, I just want to let you know that this program is aired live on several radio stations. You can hear it on ZIZ Radio, Freedom FM, Sugar City FM, Vaughan Radio, and WINN FM. It is also aired, or streamed rather, live on various social media platforms, specifically those of ZIZ and the St Kitts and Nevis Information Service, also referred to as SKNIS. So you can look for those on Facebook or YouTube. Now, without further ado, we apologize for the late start, but we have an exciting program ahead. We have things that we need to discuss and update you on, and we definitely want to hear from you. So we'll begin with the opening presentation by the Honorable Sean Richards.
My fellow citizens and residents, good evening. Today, I am pleased to be here to engage with you for this week's edition of Leadership Matters. Our Prime Minister, Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris, apologizes to his faithful listeners and viewers who would miss him tonight. Today, 16th February 2021, marks an anniversary of the election held 16th February 2015, when the Team Unity was given its first mandate to form the government of St Kitts and Nevis. Today, I am therefore humbled, honored, and privileged to engage the nation on this program as your Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Public Infrastructure, Post, and Urban Development. As we are all aware, Team Unity is an amalgamation of three parties: the People's Action Movement, PAM, for which I am the leader; the Concerned Citizens Movement, CCM, led by Honorable Mark Brantley; and the People's Labour Party, PLP, led by our beloved Prime Minister, Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris. Though these are the parties from which we came, we are united in our love of country and love of our people. The Vice President of the United States, Kamala Harris, has said, "Unity is our strength and diversity is our power." And I do believe that this aptly describes what Team Unity is. We are wholeheartedly cognizant of the fact that we form the government for all of the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. All of my cabinet colleagues are steadfast in our vision and unswerving in our resolve to build a stronger, safer St. Kitts and Nevis. Today, 6 years after you first gave Team Unity an official mandate to move our nation forward, we are still, if not even more committed to the task you have entrusted to us. We have heard you emphatically in June 2020, when you endowed even greater confidence in our team by selecting more of the Team Unity candidates to be your representatives in Parliament and thereby form the government. Fellow citizens and residents, I take this opportunity once again to thank you for your overwhelming show of support that resulted in Team Unity returning to government. On behalf of Prime Minister Harris and my cabinet colleagues, let me reassure you that empowering all of you, irrespective of your political persuasion, remains uppermost in our minds. Our beloved Prime Minister has a very simple but profoundly powerful mantra. He is ever asserting all we have is us, and indeed our people are our priority. Your government can never forget that our people remain our most valuable asset, and the primary reasons why, even in this time of global challenges brought on by the COVID-19 pandemic, your government continues to do its best to safeguard our people from the deadly coronavirus. To date, we continue to be lauded for how we have been managing the coronavirus pandemic. Our nation's success is indeed the result of an all-sector approach led by the human service of members of the National Emergency Operations Center, NEOC, and our health professionals. Despite our strides, I must remind all of us that we still need to do the best we can to adhere to the non-pharmaceutical methods of safeguarding ourselves. By adhering to the guidance of the NEOC, we will certainly be safeguarding ourselves and our loved ones. COVID-19 is ever reminding us as a nation and as global citizens that we have to dramatically change the way we live, work, and do business. This has served to solidify our desire to transform our economy by building a digital economy. Within the last year, more persons have been working remotely than ever before in our federation. An increasing number of services and businesses have been prompted to go online almost completely if they are going to remain relevant. We are seeing more and more young people being creative and taking entrepreneurial strides as they explore non-traditional economic activities. We commend these individuals and institutions and look forward to our national journey to build a digital economy. It is therefore no coincidence that tonight one of my cabinet colleagues who will be engaging with you is Honorable Akila Byron Nisbet, the Minister of Health, Entertainment, Entrepreneurship, and Talent Development. In the Prime Minister's address to the nation on the inauguration of the government, June 2020, he outlined a number of things that the nation can look forward to during this term of government. Some of these include: we will construct a brand new general hospital. We will upgrade other health facilities, as we have seen with the handing over of the health center in Tabernacle. We will commence construction of a new health center in St. Peter's, and this has begun. We will continue the work to provide health insurance coverage for all of the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. Our educational facilities will continue to be rehabilitated, expanded, and modernized, and a brand new Bastia High School will be delivered. We continue to roll out our technical vocational education training, TVET program, and have started the expansion of our secondary schools to support this program, as can be witnessed at the Gingerland Secondary School. Tonight, it is not only my pleasure to be the host of this week's edition of Leadership Matters, but it is also my pleasure to welcome the youngest members of Cabinet who will be able to speak to the areas of their respective portfolios. I say welcome to Honorable Jonel Powell, Minister of Education, Youth, Sport and Culture, and to Honorable Akila Byron Nisbet, Minister of Health, Entertainment, Entrepreneurship, and Talent Development. These young ministers are quickly learning the job given to them and already making very substantial contributions to national development through their respective ministries. There's an old African proverb that says, if you want to go quick, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. This provides the rationale for us working together as team unity, as well as for us continuing to engage you, the general public, on issues of national importance. We are ever mindful that we are accountable to you, and we do appreciate receiving the input and perspective of you. We therefore look forward to hearing from you after the other ministers have made their opening remarks. Again, on behalf of the Team Unity administration, I say thanks for the support and opportunity that you first gave to Team Unity on February 16, 2015. We sincerely appreciate it and will continue to work steadfastly on your behalf. Thank you.
And thank you so much, Deputy Prime Minister, for your reflections of the past term and for sharing with us the commitments made for this term. So as you heard, Deputy Prime Minister, the Honorable Sean Richards, will be hosting this evening's program in the absence of our usual host, Prime Minister Dr. the Honorable Timothy Harris. Next up, we'll be hearing from the Honorable Akila Byron Nisbet, who is serving her first term as a Member of Parliament. She was formerly in the House of Assembly as a Senator, and now she has somewhat graduated to a Minister of Government. So we anticipate that she will have very interesting reflections to share with us, and we look forward to hearing her updates as she heads very important ministries. Minister Akila Byron Nisbet.
So much, Jackie, and I just want to say a pleasant good night to everyone viewing and listening this evening. It is indeed a pleasure for me to be a part of this very special edition of Leadership Matters as we celebrate the 6th anniversary of our Team Unity administration. And I just wanted to point out a few things, and that is to say that for 6 successful years, Team Unity is delivering a better way of life for all people in St Kitts and Nevis. Over 6 successful years, we have built more homes, bigger, better homes, and we are going to build even more homes in the future. Over 6 successful years, we have kept our streets safe, and we have a plan to keep them safe. Over 6 successful years, we have created more jobs and more opportunities for our young people in particular. And we are investing to create even more new jobs. Over 6 successful years, we have brought Nevis and St Kitts closer together, and we have plans to make that relationship even stronger. Over 6 successful years, we have made our economy strong, which is why we can deal so successfully with COVID and protect your health, your jobs, your way of life during these times. But there is still so much more that we need to do. We must continue to protect against COVID. More houses will be built, more jobs and more opportunities for our young people will be created, and our streets will be kept safe. Team Unity will continue to work for you, building on what we have achieved and securing that stronger, safer future for our beloved Federation. And if I might, Jackie, I just want to take a few minutes to turn to St. Christopher number 3, because I must say I am eternally grateful to the people of St. Christopher 3 who took that chance with me in June 2020 and who gave Team Unity an even stronger mandate by saying that number 3 wants to be part of this Team Unity administration. And I must say thank you to the people of number 3 and to remind them that Team Unity is delivering for the people of constituency number 3. For too long, we know number 3 have been taken for granted. But with Team Unity, we will continue to work, and I in particular would continue to work hard behind the scenes, providing that fresh representation for number 3. And we're doing so just for the people of number 3. I'm sure those in Trinity Heights can attest to the fact that we have already corrected the water issues that they have had for so many years now. For far too long, they went without water, but we have fixed that problem. And I want to say thank you to the Deputy Prime Minister with responsibility for infrastructure and public works who have assisted in that regards. The basketball court in Limekeel, new backboards have been put in, thanks to the Minister with responsibility for sports, and who is here with us tonight, the Honorable Janelle Powell. And you have been waiting for some time for that to happen. And already, because you gave your support to Team Unity, these things have been done. In my new ministry, I am focused on improving the Cardin home to make it a much better place for our residents and their visitors, and this will be accomplished. The Deputy Prime Minister have already promised that the new roads that I have been asking for, they will be delivered for the people of number 3. We have assisted the people of West Bastille during COVID-19, and we will continue to do that. And so now if I turn my attention to the ministries or portfolios that I hold, I just would like to highlight the fact that in 6 successful years, your Team Unity government has been working with you to build a healthcare system that ensures people first, quality always. Since 2015, Team Unity has built out a program to reduce non-communicable diseases such as cancer, diabetes, heart diseases, which account for some 83% of deaths in St Kitts and Nevis. As a result of this work, in the period between 2015 to 2020, the incidence of new cases of diabetes have decreased by some 46.9%, and new cases of hypertension decreased by some 44.7%. We have commissioned the construction, or we have re-engaged in fixing the back of the hospital in phase 3, so that the working environment for those people who do work behind there will be in a much better position. We have provided care to the new oncology wing at the Joseph and France General Hospital. As you've heard before, the Tabernacle Health Center have been built, and we continue our efforts to refurbish all other health centers. As you have been told, we have already started the work at the St. Peter's Health Center, and we believe that that facility will indeed provide relief to that community, as the smaller health center have outgrown its use at this point. And so this new facility will bring even more to the people of St. Peter's and the surrounds, and as a result, add even more to our healthcare system. We all know that it has been a big year for the Ministry of Health. And by working with our CMO, Dr. Hazel Laws, and her team, and with the support of you, the people, we are dealing with COVID-19. And while we may be able to see the light at the end of the tunnel, there is still a long way to go. And so we urge you, continue to follow the non-pharmaceutical measures. Yes, we are about to receive vaccines. We have received some, and there are more vaccines on the way. But we still have to ensure that we social distance, wear our masks, and follow all of our protocols to ensure we continue to stay safe. We have come too far to turn back now. We can't lose focus at this point. This Team Unity government's early preparations and quick decisions meant that we had the protective equipment we needed. Our hospitals did not become overwhelmed, and we kept you safe. We remain one of the very few countries that have not had any deaths related to COVID-19. And as we have reopened our borders, we have kept the health of our people our top priority. But we are not taking anything for granted, neither should you. There is still so much more that we need to do, and more that needs to be done to secure a stronger, safer future for our federation. As Minister of Health, ICT, Entrepreneurship, Entertainment, and Talent Development, my commitment to technology remains unmoved. Not only are we modernizing our healthcare system to ensure everybody can access the care they deserve, I pledge to provide the technology needed for our young entrepreneurs and entertainers to thrive. We will build that digital economy, and we will build an economy that allows our young people to thrive, be it technology, innovation, music, arts, whatever it is. We will make that commitment, and we will do it together. Our young people remain at the heart of our nation's future, and Team Unity will provide them with every opportunity so that they can succeed in their homeland. And so I just want to remind you that for 6 successful years, Team Unity has been delivering a better way of life for everyone in St Kitts and Nevis. We have created and continue to create new jobs, build better houses, and deliver safer streets. We have successfully brought Nevis and St. Kitts closer together, and we plan to make this relationship even stronger. Over 6 successful years, we have made our economy stronger while ensuring the health care of citizens during COVID-19. Team Unity will continue to work for you, building on what we have achieved and securing a stronger, safer future. I look forward to hearing from you tonight, to your questions, and just to hear your thoughts on how successful Team Unity have been over the past 6 years. Thank you.
And thank you so much, Honorable Byron Nisbet. It is important to note that the Honorable Byron Nisbet also served as the Deputy Speaker in the House of Assembly during the previous term. So she wore both hats during the last term, and now she is a parliamentary representative. Also serving his first term as a parliamentary representative is the Honorable Jonell Powell, and we will hear from him as to what his thoughts are so far, having served just under a year, and some of the things that he will look forward to delivering for the persons in his constituency and throughout the Federation responsible for under the ministries that he heads. Honorable Powell.
Thank you, Jackie. Good evening, my fellow citizens, residents, and friends of St. Kitts and Nevis. It is indeed a pleasure for me to be here this evening to share with you and to be a part of this panel with my distinguished colleagues. It is particularly special as we sit here today on the 6th anniversary of the election of your Team Unity administration. Although I would have served in the first term in a different capacity as ambassador with responsibility for sport and culture, it was a privilege to be able to play a part in a positive, history-changing event and period in our nation. In the first term of your Team Unity administration, we delivered. We promised a better St. Kitts and Nevis for all, and Team Unity did not fail. We promised that we would remove VAT from food and medical supplies, and we did that. We promised that we would offer $500 to persons in need. Team Unity did that in this first term through the Poverty Alleviation Program. I can go on, but you know the story, because just a few short months ago, you would have, in a show of appreciation and a show for love of country, given us an even larger mandate when you elected a larger, stronger Team Unity administration and giving me an opportunity to serve as the parliamentary representative for constituency number 2 Central Bastille. And for me to now sit before you as a minister with responsibility for education, youth empowerment, sport and culture. And so as Team Unity continues to build a safer, stronger future for the people of St Kitts and Nevis, rest assured that I too will continue to serve and play my part to ensure that St Kitts and Nevis strives and flies and goes from height to height. But as I sit before you as a minister with responsibility of education, youth, sport and culture, allow me to update you on some of the activities that have been taking place. I begin with the Ministry of Youth Empowerment, Sport and Culture. Our young people have been kept busy by the youth officers within the Department of Youth Empowerment. On just Saturday last, in an exercise for a volunteer day, teams of our young persons that form our volunteer corps would have broken up into various groups doing community service projects throughout the island. Some would have participated in tree planting in the Boyd's area, and others would have done beach cleanups around the island, whether it was in Irish Town Bay, Newtown Bay, Frigate Bay, and other places on St. Kitts. The Department of Youth continues to do its part in building capacity, and so they have conducted a series of seminars with the various youth groups that are registered within the department in terms of building capacity. But I think what they're most proud of, and is actually keeping them quite busy at the moment, is the fact that they're in the middle of a 9-week seminar on media and media development. That is being hosted by our very own Nadia Mills, where young persons are being trained in various forms of media, from interviewing to photography to web design, production, editing. This shows that not only do we have the talent to teach in St. Kitts and Nevis, but we have the capacity to really, in an age where technology is taking over, take advantage of that. As I shift to the Department of Sport, you would have noticed in recent news articles that we just recently have embarked on a maintenance program, updating and upgrading and really scheduling maintenance for the various sporting facilities that we enjoy around St. Kitts. And so we would have partnered with Scabba at the Basketball City, where we would have given an entire facelift to that basketball facility in Bastille in anticipation for the upcoming start of the Scabba Basketball League. Persons in the Irish Town area will note that we are well underway in the repair of the pavilion at the Gardens playing field. Currently, the Kim Collins Athletic Stadium is closed for a few weeks as we continue to carry on maintenance and repairs and upgrades to that facility in anticipation of hopefully some well-needed athletic meets that will be coming up in weeks to come. I think what the Department of Sport can boast of right now is the fact that just this week we'd have received notice from WADA, the World Anti-Doping Association, to inform us that after many, many years, St. Kitts and Nevis has been placed on a temporary list of compliant countries. This compliance will be confirmed in October, and so we're very proud of that. That is not something that just happened. That is as a result of the efforts within the Department of Sport to set up a secretariat for anti-doping, which is led by Mr. Matanaya Wallace and Mr. Sean Seabrooks. Mr. Seabrooks, along with the team, would have been doing quite a bit of work in recent months in order to achieve the success, and so I say congratulations to them. That comes with some benefit, and through the assistance of UNESCO, we have received a grant of some $35,000 to assist in the build out of that secretariat and to assist with education and development in terms of anti-doping. As I shift to the Department of Culture, we too have successes in that respect. And so I am happy to announce that we have recently set up an ICH Secretariat, which is Intangible Cultural Heritage Secretariat, and with the assistance of UNESCO once again, and a grant of some $100,000, we are beginning to build out that to safeguard our culture here in St Kitts and Nevis. And so in the first phase of that build out, we have established a secretariat, and there are a number of seminars that will begin to take place at the Great House up at Shadwell, I think next Wednesday. And those are really to educate the persons within our cultural fields on why we need to protect our culture and just what aspects of culture we can protect and how we protect them. And so the seminars will carry out instruction on broom making, on culinary skills such as how to make morbi and ginger beer, how to make cassava bread, but as well as to educate on some of our folklore and to give instruction in terms of David and Goliath, mummies, and other areas of our folklore. And so that ministry has been quite busy in every respect. I specifically saved the Ministry of Education for last. The Ministry of Education has faced some challenges as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, but thanks to the sterling work done by our teachers in particular and the management and senior staff of the Ministry of Education, and really the resilience of our young people, we have been able to overcome those challenges. And so, as the work continues, our curriculum writers continue to work feverishly as they roll out our new curriculum, which will lead in which St Kitts and Nevis will lead the rest of the OACS. The build out of our TVET spaces with the assistance from the CDB continues, many of which have been completed. And we look forward to the opening of some 4 computer labs in rural schools in a few weeks through the assistance of the Ross University School of Veterinary Medicine. But as you would have heard from the Deputy Prime Minister earlier, this Team Unity administration intends to build a new Bastia High School. And it is my pleasure to announce to you tonight that just yesterday, the Cabinet of Ministers approved the payout of the initial mobilization funds, and we intend to start the tendering process for the various aspects of the construction of the Bastia High School within a matter of weeks. This is a project which has faced some challenges on its own, but is a project that is in the best interest of not just the students within the Bastia area, but to the benefit of the people of St Kitts and Nevis. I cannot be on this national platform and not speak to the good people of Central Bastia, who just 8 months ago would have entrusted their leadership in me. And to them, I say thank you once again. It is and has been a pleasure serving you over these past 8 months. So much has happened despite the challenges that we faced through the COVID pandemic. As I indicated, you'd have seen we are in the process of doing significant works at the Gardens playing field. The Dorset Park would have received some donations, and we continue to support the community group that is working on not just maintaining, but improving that particular facility. Within the last 8 months of this Team Unity administration, we would have seen the opening of the West Bus Line bus terminal. All things that we said we would do, and all things that we continue to do here in Central Bastia. And so to the people of Central Bastia, I promise you that one of my main fights would be to ensure that those abandoned buildings, those derelict buildings, those overgrown house lots would be addressed. I'm happy to report that with the support of my colleagues in Cabinet, we have had the support in terms of setting up a committee to look at and identify those areas and to start a process of dealing with them so as to not just clean up Central Bastia, but to make those properties available to the people of Central Bastia. I've had the opportunity to meet with technocrats and to identify areas, and so I look forward to that work beginning. There's so much more that we can do, but we will do it in time. But I cannot leave without touching on health and support my colleague, the Honorable Keela Byron Nisbet, particularly at this point in time. You would have heard from our Prime Minister just this week that we have received the our first tranche of vaccines to fight the COVID-19 pandemic. And so I want to encourage all to think hard and to be wise, and encourage all of you to take the vaccine. I will be taking the vaccine. I believe it is in our best interest to be vaccinated against the COVID-19 virus. The only way for us to get out of the challenges that we face right now is to come together as a people. We talk about herd immunity. Well, that is herd immunity, not just taking the vaccine, but us coming together as a people. And I encourage you, as Minister Byron Nisbet would have done, to continue to wear your mask, continue to sanitize your hands. That is the only way we will protect each other, and that is the only way that we will beat this coronavirus. And so this evening I look forward to interacting with you. I look forward to your questions, your comments, your criticisms, because we must hear from you, the people. And I look forward to continuing to serve not just the people of Central Bastia, but the people of St Kitts and Nevis to ensure a safer, stronger future as a member of this Team Unity administration. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Powell, for your reflections on your current work and updating us on the work coming out of the various ministries that you had, as well as your previous work as an ambassador. So we know that you also have some experience serving with the administration in the previous term. We're going to break now so that we can just prepare for the second half of the program, which is pretty much your half of the program. We're going to tell you what the phone numbers are, and there are various ways that you can participate. We have tried to explore as many ways as possible. So once we return, I'll let you know what those ways are, and you can put your questions, comments, suggestions, or criticisms to our guests.
As we get ready to serve, it is important that we improve our vehicles to ensure the safety of our guests and ourselves. Outfit your vehicle with appropriate dividers to separate driver from passenger. Plexiglass or Velcro plastic divider may be used. Have a minimum of 2 hand sanitizers, one for you and one for your guests. Always carry extra mask and disinfectant in your vehicle, and post signs to remind passengers to use hand sanitizers and wear their mask and follow social distancing protocols.
When providing a service, it is important that the hands of the passengers are sanitized before entering the vehicle. Remember, a mask must always be worn by all occupants of the vehicle for the duration of the trip. At the end of the trip, remember to wish your passengers a good day. Ensure they have left no personal items behind, and sanitize their hands.
Once you have completed your trip, remember to sanitize your hands and your vehicle. Seats must be disinfected, and all high-touch areas, such as doors and seat handles, must be sanitized before your next trip. Let's do all we can to keep ourselves and our visitors safe.
Thanks to the nation's unified response, the spread of COVID-19 has been contained. St Kitts and Nevis therefore announces the opening of their border on October 31st, 2020. The success of this strategy requires effort on everyone's part. People from all walks of life must keep practicing social distancing. Maintain a separation of 6 feet or 2 meters indoors and 3 to 4 feet or 1 meter outdoors. If this isn't possible, masks must be properly worn. Businesses can provide hand sanitizer, conduct temperature checks, record customers' contact information, and manage crowds. Clean and sanitize high-touch areas regularly. Dividers or staggered seating can be used to maintain proper social distance. This protects workers and customers and prevents the spread of disease. We all have an individual and collective responsibility to avoid large social gatherings. These types of gatherings are deemed as super spreader events. Taking disease prevention seriously will enable a worry-free return to normal life.
We are all in this together.
And we all have a part to play to keep our island COVID-free.
Play your part and stay safe and healthy.
Our borders will soon be reopened. Get ready.
So what are you doing to keep St Kitts COVID-free?
Before touching the mask, clean hands with an alcohol-based hand rub or soap and water. Take the mask and inspect it for tears or holes. Orient which side is the top side, where the metal strip is. Ensure the proper side of the mask faces outwards, the colored side. Place the mask to your face. Pinch the metal strip or stiff edge of the mask so it molds to the shape of your nose. Pull down the mask's bottom so it covers your mouth and your chin. After use, take off the mask. Remove the elastic loops from behind the ears while keeping the mask away from your face and clothes. To avoid touching potentially contaminated surfaces of the mask, discard the mask in a closed bin immediately after use.
Matters, and it's a special edition marking the 6th anniversary of the Team Unity Coalition administration. We are joined this evening by Deputy Prime Minister the Honorable Sean Richards, who is hosting in the absence of our usual host, Dr. the Honorable Prime Minister Timothy Harris. He is joined as well by the Honorable Akila Byron Nisbet and the Honorable Jonelle Powell. And between the three of them, the ministries we have represented here this evening are public infrastructure, utilities, posts and urban development, health, information, communication and technology or ICT, entertainment, entrepreneurship and talent development, education, youth empowerment, sports and culture. And of course, the Deputy Prime Minister is here to answer all questions as best as he can. So let me share those numbers with you now because we've been waiting to hear from you all evening. The numbers to call in are 466-2666, 662-8674, 767-4765, and the international line is 1-239-645-5785. 4500. Let me say that again. The international line is 1-239-645-4500. You can also engage our panelists via WhatsApp, and we have a number that you can send messages on, and that number is 661-5683. Or you can send voice notes. Since the last program, we offered that option for you to send voice notes. You can send it to 660-7168. I will repeat those numbers a little later in the program just in case you missed it, but the numbers are also listed at the bottom of your screen for your convenience. So we are going to go directly to the phone lines now and receive our first caller. Welcome to Leadership Matters. Good evening.
Good evening.
Welcome to Leadership Matters. You're live.
Yes, okay. Good evening, Deputy Prime Minister, Mr. Honorable Sean Richards. Good evening to the other cabinet members, Honorable John L. Powell and Honorable Akila Nisbet, Byron Nisbet, sorry. Welcome to Tuesday night. We missed the program last week. We like on a Tuesday night to be busy and to be informed and kept entertained by cabinet members. But anyhow, this is a critical date in the history of St Kitts and Nevis, February the 16th, and I will ask an appropriate question. We know from a previous administration which had a scant regard for crime in the country, and as a result of which we knew what our murder rate was like. COVID-19 is with us, and we've heard some comments from one member in particular of the previous administration, basically saying that overseas nationals, should be treated differently as regards quarantining with respect to, compared to foreign visitors. Where do you believe our country would be today had it not been for the intervention of Team Unity in February 16th or 2015, when they changed the situation, they changed the lives of the people in St Kitts? Where do you think we would be under the cloak of COVID-19 today? Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. And we'll take our next call. Welcome to Leadership Matters.
Good night, Leadership Matters.
Good night.
Well, it's a good night to the panelists. First, the Deputy, Mr. Sean K. Richards. Honorable, there is no longer Ambassador. Honorable General Powell. And Honorable Akila Byron. Congratulations on your 1 year anniversary in administration. I must acknowledge the absence of the Prime Minister, because this program is called Leadership Matters, and he has set forth and set sail and bring it every Tuesday. Leadership Matters, so persons can interact, persons can hear what the Team Unity has done and will continue to do in their 5 years of administration. Just some quick questions, simple one. Honorable Sean K. Richards, thanks for taking over from the Honorable Ian Packett, who is now the ambassador. And I see you continue to develop the roads. That stretch on the airport, I know it was just newly done under the past administration, but will that be part of the upgrade? Also, I see Old Road Bay coming along slowly. Do you have a time frame when this will be complete? And I must say thanks for allowing drivers to use that road whenever there's heavy rain or there's some kind of slide. I want to say thanks for allowing us to use that portion. Also, Old Road Fisheries, the breakwater wall is completed, but there's supposed to be a second phase with some slips. I'm wondering if there's any contract signing that was already agreed upon, when we can see some work, as the guys in Old Road are very eager to have the boat docks here, and so they can continue to do fishing. Mr. Powell, there's too much schools, I think, that are still on shift. I think it's Bastia and the Washington High School. Could we see anything happening in terms of the going back to school? This will help some of the vendors who are suffering during this COVID-19 so they can come back on stream and they can look after their family. With that said, have a good night, and once again, congratulations on your 1-year anniversary.
Thank you so much for your contribution, caller. We'll take our next call. Welcome to Leadership Matters.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hi, yes we can.
Okay, Janelle. Janelle, I hear you speak about health. To get Matnite clean, it's health. You know it needs clean up badly. It had 2 ministers did not do nothing. So you was on the Prime Minister program. I call and nothing do as yet. So please, here is where you get your vote. I am looking forward to see it clean. And the people who went to vote can't move, want to see you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your contribution. We'll take our next call, and we'll take a few calls before we break for responses from the panelists. Welcome to Leadership Matters. You're live. Hello? Okay. We can break for responses now, I think. So we have quite a number of questions that were put to the Deputy Prime Minister, or we can go in order. The first caller asking, where do you think we would be? And this seems like a general question for whoever would want to answer. Where do you think we would be with regards to the pandemic if the administration had not changed?
I suppose that the caller asked 2 different questions, if I'm correct. He asked about whether or not there should be a different treatment for overseas nationals compared to foreign nationals with reference to quarantine. And then he delved to the state of the nation relative to crime had it not been for the change of government in 2015. On the question of the different treatment, or whether or not different treatment should be accorded to overseas nationals as compared to foreign persons visiting, we'll have the Minister of Health respond to that question.
Thank you very much, Deputy Prime Minister. In terms of the quarantine is treated the same for everyone because the COVID-19 virus doesn't determine whether you are a national or if you are a visitor. And so therefore, what we have been trying to do is to keep everyone safe. And so the protocols and all the requirements that are necessary to come to St. Kitts is for both our returning nationals as well as for persons visiting. You visit our knatravel.gov.kn website and you go there in order to be able to fill out the travel forms. Once you complete the travel forms, you're expected to upload your results of a negative PCR test, which should be RT-PCR test, which should be 3 days prior to your arrival in St. Kitts. Once you get to St. Kitts, you will be quarantined for 14 days. If you're going to go out into the population, doesn't matter who you are, you have to quarantine for 14 days. For those persons who are visiting and will only be staying on the property, that is whichever hotel they choose to go to, they were given the option of vacationing in place, meaning after they would have taken a test on day 7, that is the RT-PCR test, and that test was negative, they were allowed to use certain services on the properties themselves. They were never allowed and will not be allowed to leave the property to go outside and to integrate within our community. And so that is the only difference that there is. Once that person would have finished their vacation, which is more than likely less than the 14 days, and they do not intend to go out into the general population, then they travel back to the country which they came from. However, for persons who will be integrating into our communities, whether you are a local or a foreigner, you must do the 14 days quarantine. You must have that negative RT-PCR test at the end of the quarantine in order to be able to integrate into our society. So it's not about whether or not you are a local or you are a visitor. It's about keeping us safe, and so ensuring that after the 14 days you test negative and then you'll be allowed to integrate into our community. And I think that should answer that question.
respect to the question, would be, had it not been for the change of government in 2015, I think there are so many different ways in which this federation would be worse off in respect of crime. As it is, we had a Prime Minister and Minister of National Security back then who indicated very publicly that the issue of crime is like water running off the back of a duck. That in itself says to you the attitude towards crime coming from that administration. Additionally, if the person who is in charge of not just national security but of the Federation of St Kitts and Nevis adopts such an attitude, it sends a message to those who are responsible for committing crimes, those who are responsible for bringing persons to justice. It sends a message to the entire society that crime isn't a priority. Hence, we saw a number of crimes and an increase in particular in the number of murders taking place in the Federation during the period 1995 to 2015. In particular, we witnessed the death of a number of young persons, hundreds of young persons who would have lost their lives during that period. We gave a commitment to the people of St Kitts and Nevis that Team Unity will arrest this particular situation, and indeed Team Unity has done so. You're speaking about the young persons who we look forward to in terms of taking up the mantle of leadership in the Federation of St Kitts and Nevis in so many different respects. Be it as teachers, be it as tradesmen, be it as politicians, be it as police officers. These are the persons who we were losing. Parents have been burying their children. When we're a society which has become accustomed to children burying the parents, but we saw the complete reverse of that. We saw the fact that in terms of the investment that was necessary to bring a decrease in the number of crimes taking place here in the Federation, that wasn't happening. You had deterioration of a number of police stations which we have had to pay attention to. As it is, we are currently just about ready to open a brand new police station in Sandy Point. The same thing would have been done in Nevis. We had to close the St. Paul's police station because those stations were not deemed fit for police officers to be serving from them. Police officers complained about not having enough vehicles to go about doing their jobs. So you have now seen a turnaround in terms of that. One of the most amazing things which we can now witness is that you have more and more persons going out on the streets and feeling safer. Before time, you were being told by young persons from rural communities, I am not going to venture into Bastille because I am afraid of what may be the end result. But even when you look within the Bastille community, you had persons from McKnight saying to you, I can't go to Newtown because there's this gang warfare which is taking place. And so you not only had the fact that you were losing young persons in terms of death, but in terms of their productive capacity. We were not able to benefit from that because many of them could not venture far from where they live. And so in terms of work and opportunities which became available to them, they could not take advantage of those opportunities. Business places, I am sure, feel more comfortable in the atmosphere that they're now operating in, with an environment that you are now seeing less crime, less murders taking place. The police officers, of course, they can now feel better in terms of their own working conditions, in terms of their own safety. And so we have built a safer community for the people here in St Kitts and Nevis. That is one of the reasons when we went into the election of 2020, we said to the Federation that we are going to build a stronger, safer community. That is something that we have done, and that is something that we continue to build upon.
Coming from Central Bassi, which is a constituency that was really affected by crime, you know, one of the most affected, and I'm sure it applies to other communities around St Kitts and Nevis. When you go into a mat night in Irish Town now, it is as if a weight has been lifted off the shoulders of the people. The people are now free to roam, to do as they would like to live their lives as they would hope to. The young men are carefree. You're now seeing a more entrepreneurial spirit coming from these young men in particular. They're starting businesses, and a lot of it is through the assistance of our crime peace initiative and other crime fighting initiatives. And so you're seeing more entrepreneurs coming out of these groups. They're now able, as you said. It was amazing. It was mind-blowing to know that some of them had never even been to, say, music festival because of the gang fighting. And so all of a sudden you had a couple hundred people now, additional people who could go to music festival, who could go to all these different events and participate in society and play a part in that economic activity within the country. If you look at it in terms of COVID and where we are today, the resources that we were utilizing to fight crime, had we had to worry about that today in light of a COVID-19 pandemic, I don't know where we would be. Millions of dollars we've been able to shift from crime fighting to health fighting. Even in terms of human resources, we're able now to utilize essential workers, police and other security officers in respect to health and quarantine and not have to worry about crime. The monies that we were spending, God knows we were in a very bad financial situation prior to the 2015 election because of the lack of need for so much resources for crime, and because of the good financial work that this government has been able to do. We are now in a better position, better than any of our Caribbean neighbors, to fight the COVID-19 pandemic, to be able to give the biggest stimulus package, to be able to support people in what is a very hard time. That is where we are because of a team unity administration, I believe.
Everyone has said, and I just wanted to elaborate some more, because if we look at the young men in particular, so many persons question the peace initiative, but that's because they've never had the opportunity to speak to those young men in ways that we have been able to speak to them, and we are seeing that difference in their lifestyle choices. You have many of them who would come to us and said, we're able to see our children grow up, we're able to be a father figure, and we're able to be even an uncle figure to some of the young persons within their community. They want to be able to do more, and that is what the Peace Initiative is encouraging. We want our young men to think outside of violence and crime in order to be able to be successful. And as you say, many of them are looking at ways in which they can better themselves, they can better their families, they can better their communities, and that's because of the Peace Initiative. And so I just thought it was important for us to highlight, because we have so much that is being said about the Peace Initiative, and persons are not taking the time to stop and look to see the transformation that is taking place in these young men's lives and their families by extension. attention. And so I just wanted to continue to encourage those young men, continue to dream big, continue to push and come up with those different ideas that you have for businesses and whatever other opportunities that you see out there that you can be a part of. And this government, this Team Unity administration will continue to push you and encourage you, because we believe that without our young men, we would not be able to go further. And so we continue to support you in everything that you do.
Thank you all so much for that comprehensive response to the question. We had several questions being put to Deputy Prime Minister Sean Richards regarding infrastructure. So there was one about the stretch of the airport road and if that will be upgraded, the update of the Old Road Bay Road, the breakwater project in Old Road, and the fourth question was to Minister Powell about the shift system and if schools will resume full-time.
Thank you, Jackie. Relative to the stretch of road leading from the airport, and I suppose that the caller is referencing the West Bastia bypass road. That road is not scheduled for the same type of work that we have seen on the island main road. Let us be mindful of the fact that with regards to the island main road, that road was last resurfaced back in the 1990s. When you look at the lifetime of a road, the island main road had passed that lifetime. As a result, a decision was taken to do significant upgrades to the island main road in terms of resurfacing it, in terms of putting in sidewalks in almost all of the different communities, in terms of giving some of the other stakeholders the opportunity to be able to change some of the infrastructure, such as the underground water lines, the laying of cable by, I think it is the cable company, fiber optics cable. So it has been a comprehensive project. With regards to the West Bastia bypass road, that road is relatively new, and so it has not been scheduled for such. It, however, doesn't mean that in terms of areas of the road that may be in need of repairs, that we will not look at it and do the repairs accordingly. Indeed, we do intend to do so because we are indeed concerned about all areas here in St Kitts and Nevis where we have roads that may not necessarily be in the best of condition. You would have heard Minister Byron Nisbet in her opening remarks referencing the fact that she has a number of roads within her constituency which are completely unpaved, and if you go throughout the entire island you would also see a recognition of such. That therefore also means that one has to prioritize in terms of our resources and being able to carefully develop our road network. With regards to the opening of the Old Road Bay Road, that project is indeed behind in terms of the time when it was scheduled to be completed. There are various factors which are responsible for that. For example, you had COVID-19, which would have caused some delays. You have the fact that we have experienced some difficulties in mining for some of the 10-ton rocks, which are needed to be placed over on the seaside of the road. I spoke to the contractor very recently, and he said to me that in terms of those 10-ton rocks, he is being able to mine for more of those, and so he is now in the process of taking more of the 10-ton rocks to the Old Road Bay site. The road has also reached a phase in terms of now being ready for the asphalt to be placed on the concrete. About 2 weeks ago, some persons would have recognized that you had some asphalt being laid as you enter from the Spratnet end on the old road itself. That was being done as a test in terms of the mix of the asphalt that is necessary for the Old Road Bay Road. The project engineers have indicated the necessary mix, the amount of asphalt that is to be laid on the road, because the asphalt has to be a certain number of inches in terms of thickness. Based on what I have been privy to, I know there were some concerns with the mix, and so that sort of had to go back to the drawing board in terms of looking at the mix to ensure that it meets the necessary requirements. So all of that is being worked out. One of the other challenges at this point in time is that the asphalt plant itself is now being utilized by both the contractor at the Old Road Bay project, that is Rock and Dirt, and also by Surrey Paving for the Island Main Road project. We at Public Works have been able to work out a schedule for both of them to be able to utilize it. But of course, perhaps the work would have been more efficient if you had one contractor utilizing it as opposed to two contractors utilizing it at this particular point in time. The ministry itself, of course, has been involved in doing road works here and there. For example, where the traffic lights have been placed at the bottom of a Sandown Road, we did a little bit of work there because there's a particular stretch in between there that is supposed to be resurfaced. So rather than doing the necessary trenches to put in the electrical wiring for the traffic lights and then having to go back and dig it up, that particular area has been resurfaced in anticipation of the rest of it being done at some point in time. The Old Road Bay Breakwater project, that is a project which comes under the Ministry of Agriculture and not necessarily for Public Works. Public Works has been involved in terms of providing a supervision of the work. So in regards to phase 2 of the work, the Ministry of Agriculture would have to initiate that second phase. I think those are the questions which would have been asked of me, and so I now turn to the Honourable Jonelle Powell, who will speak to the shift system which has been instituted as one of the protocols for COVID-19 and also the cleaning up of the McKnighty area.
Well, as it relates to the shift system in our schools, we have to remember that the decision was taken to put schools on shifts from a health perspective. That was because we needed to ensure physical distancing within the classrooms, and because of the number of students, we had to put the schools on shift to ensure that we achieved that physical distancing. Part of the reason why we would have been short of classrooms is had to do with the fact that we had started the process of upgrading our TVET spaces within the high schools. We have been able to complete quite a bit of those projects in various schools, and so some schools have actually gone back to full-time and have ended the shift. In Basti in particular, the student populations are larger for obvious reasons, and so we have to maintain the shift system from a health perspective. We will continue to do what is in the best interest of our staff and students, health-wise first. Now, I do appreciate that the vendors are feeling the downturn in the economy like everyone else. And so we continue to try and work with them to see how we can incorporate them, whether into bubbles or in respect of the flow of students in and out of the schools. And we have not forgotten them, but our primary focus must be the health and wellness of the school populations. For example, I know there have been some concerns in respect to Bastia High School. Now, we know the situation in respect to Bastia High School even before COVID-19, but as indicated, we are now starting that process officially to begin the construction phase, the tendering and then construction phase of Bastia High School. And so we ask for patience in that respect, but we must continue to safeguard our teachers and students. In respect to the cleaning up in the McKnight area, Anybody who listened to me in the campaign knows that that was my main thrust, and it still is my main thrust. One of the things that we've come to identify is the majority of those properties are privately owned. We are working within the communities, with owners, and assessing what is the best and legal process to address a lot of these issues. Now, I've not bothered the Minister of Health too much, as she has some very good people below her, but I've been in touch with persons within the Ministry of Health, within the Solid Waste Management Corporation, and we've visited a number of sites. I've visited a number of areas, even with persons from within the Urban Development Department, to see where we can start and how we will start. What I do need to say to the residents of McKnight and all other areas that are affected by this is that you play a part in this as well. And I want to appeal to residents to come together and work together to ensure that as far as possible, as much as possible, you keep your areas clean. Quite often we see a build-up of garbage in some neighborhoods. Now, nobody's coming from Sandy Point to dump in McKnight. And so we want to encourage you to utilize the appropriate methods and means to dump garbage. We want to encourage persons to try and keep their surroundings clean. You're the ones who are most affected. You're the ones who live there. And while we will try our best as a government and myself as your representative to have cleanup campaigns and to do different things. I want to encourage you not to just wait on the government to come and clean up your areas. Let us come together and work together to ensure that as a community we can do as much as we can until the government is in a position to roll out a full-scale campaign whereby we can properly clean a lot of these affected areas.
Thank you so much for addressing those concerns. We're going to go back to the phone lines now, but before we do, let me remind you of the phone numbers in case you didn't get a chance to jot them down and you'd like to call. They are 466-2666, 662-8674, 767-4765, and the international number is 1-239-645-4500. We also have two WhatsApp numbers that you can use. The first is for messages, so you can send messages to 661-5683. And you can send voice notes, yes, voice notes to 660-7168. And I can tell you now that we have quite a number of messages and questions that have come through the WhatsApp platform. But we'll go to the phone lines now. Welcome to Leadership Matters. Good evening. Can you please lower the volume on your radio or computer or phone?
Hi, good night.
Hi, good evening.
How are you, Ms. Brian?
I'm doing quite well. How are you?
I wish I can say the same, but I'm alive, so I'm thanking God for that, and this is my month of my birth. So.
Oh, happy birthday if it hasn't already gone, and happy belated if it has.
No, it's going to be coming on Monday.
Oh, happy birthday.
I
have a drink on Monday for your birthday.
Well, of course, you're invited all the time.
What do you want to share with us this evening?
Well, I would like to say good night to your panelists, Mr.
Deputy Prime Minister Sean Richards, Ms. Akila Byron Nisbet, and Mr. John L. Powell. I have been listening to the program and hearing all the stuff that the government has been rolling out, and based on the campaign manifesto and them kind of stuff. Well, I have a serious problem for the past 2.5 years now, being a businessman, and they spoke about some business, young people doing business, and people feel safer doing business now. But I'm a young man still, and I'm doing a business, and I'm not seeing any progress for me to being safe in my business because of the fact that a lot of threatening things has been happening in my business profession, which as a bus operator from out of the East Bus Terminal. And the East Bus Terminal has already been constructed, already open, but is not operating in a proper functional way because of the fact that we have people doing as they like, still going all over the place in St Kitts and Nevis in the Barclay area, picking up passengers and breaking the law. Where there is no bus stops, they're picking up people. Where there is no bus stops, they're dropping off people. And passengers have been getting angry with me for not doing the same. So I am asking for the government to take a step to make the East Bus Terminal functional, because I think anywhere you go in the world and you hear about a terminal, you know that your journey has been terminated. Well, we have been bending backwards to leave the East Terminal and go down to the West Terminal for the comfort of passengers. But for some reason, we have been discomfort in the way that buses that goes down there at the West Terminal and pick up these same people that we drop off, I've been telling them, don't catch them the bus because they don't do this and they don't do that for you. Well, Ms. Bryant, I've been doing this for 14 years. And I would like to see something happen in the East Bus Terminal. I think it was at a meeting at the Care Community Center. And up to now, we haven't got anything addressed for the East Bus Terminal. We have been seeing all kind of people that are responsible for the East Bus Terminal to be functional, and we haven't been getting anywhere. So I would like for the ministers them there, as Mr. Richards is the infrastructure man now, get the infrastructure for the East Bus Terminal to be functional for all in small businesses. And I thank you, and I hope to see something happening soon, Ms. Bryant, and have a good night.
Thank you so much for your contribution. We'll take another call. Welcome to Leadership Matters. Hello, good evening.
Hello.
Hi, good evening. Welcome to Leadership Matters. You're live.
Yeah, okay. This one is for Janelle. Okay. Janelle, as the Minister of Health, the Minister of Education, I would like to see you visit Nevis and visit the schools. And because you have a Nevis background. So because we are unity, right, and we are together, I think you should come over to Nevis and visit the schools. That's my thing. Akila, darling, good evening. You in health, I will also invite you to the same thing. You can come over and visit the hospital and see what is going on. Because as Sean rightly said, everything Sean says, think it's Nevis, I think it's Nevis. We expect you all to come over. You are the bigger sister, and come over and look. Sean, good evening. This is the lady with the restaurant when you used to work TDC, and you used to come. I don't have to call my name. Have a good evening.
Thank you so much for your contribution. We'll take another call. Welcome to Leadership Matters.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, I'm calling from Newton Ground.
Okay.
Yeah, since last year, December, there was a damage in the road, and I've been calling in to get some assistance, and up to now, we haven't got no assistance. So I asked Mr. Sean if he can get some of the asphalt to bring it down and to fix the road, because the road is very damaged, dig up by the rain. I thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for bringing that to his attention. We'll take our final call, I'm told, for this evening. Welcome to Leadership Matters.
Good night, and I'm happy to be the final call. And I'll make it very quick, since we're calling already. This is for Honorable Akila Baiwan. I'm happy you spoke about the Karim home because I think that the Karim home have been left out for some time. And I'm happy that the government able to secure these elderly persons or these persons who, you know, can't afford, I don't have anybody to look after them, and that's what the Karim home is about. But the building itself is not good, and I'm happy that we have mentioned it, and I'm going to hold it to it to have that building rectified. In closing, also, the hospital, I'm looking for a much faster turnaround time, especially when you go to the EMS. So I want to continue to encourage the staff, right, to come out to work. You know, there's a lot of sick leave. You have to look into it. We have 6 persons on sick leave and so. I mean, if you're sick, you're sick. But some of them are deliberate. That's my son. He's saying happy anniversary to him. Right? So I'll end for this.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. And thank you to your son. Let him know that the panelists have acknowledged his happy anniversary message. So we have those questions, and we can begin anywhere you want to. But maybe first, with the, like we did previously, take the first call and go in order. So that would be you, Deputy Prime Minister, and the East Bus Terminal and the issues there, not just at the terminal, but also with the behavior of the bus drivers and the route.
With regards to the East Bus Terminal, indeed, there are some issues. We are aware of those issues as a government. As recently as yesterday, some of these very same issues were discussed in Cabinet. With reference to the picking up and dropping off of passengers at stops which are not designated for such, indeed, the police would have to assist us in ensuring that persons are adhering to the necessary traffic laws as they would pertain to bus drivers plying their trade. Now, part of it also comes with some sense of responsibility, not just from the bus drivers, but in terms of the bus association. The bus drivers must ensure that they are following the bus route which has been designated. And those bus drivers who are aware that there are some bus drivers who are not to be doing such but still doing it, we would want to encourage them to bring the necessary information to the relevant authorities. The Minister with responsibility for transport, the Honorable Lindsay Grant, has pledged to look at some of the issues at the East Bus Terminal. For example, we are aware that in terms of the infrastructure, it is an area which is in need of widening. The Public Works Department has indicated that a contract has been signed to do the necessary work. That contract was signed in December. We therefore expect that the work for the work there to proceed very shortly, so that the drivers there, they have a more comfortable experience in terms of using the East Bus Terminal. I know that perhaps for those passengers taking the buses, they would want to be dropped off wherever they would wish, and they would want buses to pick them up from wherever they would wish. The caller rightly pointed out, though, that there is a purpose of having a terminal, and there are various reasons for doing that. One, for making it a more comfortable experience for both the bus drivers and also the passengers. In terms of the traffic, that has also been taken into consideration, because we have to look at means and ways in terms of easing the congestion that we currently experience on our roads. And that is why you have a bus route, so that you don't have buses basically going from any street to any street, whether it is to pick up or to drop off passengers. Within recent times, we have had designated bus stops even along the routes that the buses are supposed to take. We would want persons to comply with those particular laws, regulations governing the operations of passenger buses. This is something that will again be brought to the attention of the police officers, so that when bus drivers begin to get tickets, I hope that we don't hear a different complaint coming from them. So the warning is being sounded now to the bus drivers that you have a particular route, you have it for a particular reason, and we're asking that you comply with it. The caller who referenced the damage in the road at Newton Ground, that particular matter was already discussed with the person who is in charge of the roads division. I personally thought that that particular matter had already been rectified. I want to thank him for bringing it to my attention, and so tomorrow I will ask the gentleman and the crew there to take a second look at it, of course with the intention of bringing some resolve to that matter. I know there are quite a number of persons out there who have asked for assistance in terms of the surfacing that is currently being removed from the roads, to use it at least to bring some sense of temporary relief, especially in areas where you don't have paved roads.
And an invitation was extended to the Honorable Akila Byron Nisbet and Minister Powell to visit the schools and the hospital in Nevis. Would you like to respond to that?
That is certainly not a problem. As the Prime Minister would say, Nevis is the land of my father's birth. But you would appreciate that there is a minister with responsibility for education on Nevis, my good friend, the Honorable Troy Liebert. We work very closely together. Both ministries of education on both islands work very closely together. We collaborate and partner on many, many different initiatives. Just a few months ago, you may recall that I would have ventured over for the groundbreaking ceremony for the new TVET building at the Gingerland Secondary School. And so we have been making it over, and we have been doing various meetings. But I would like to thank the caller for the invitation. I actually do think it's a good idea for us to be able to work even closer than we have been, to look at the little nuances and differences and see how we can learn from each other and make the educational experience better for our federation on a whole. And so I look forward to coming over and visiting, and likewise to have my colleagues from Nevis come over and visiting in St Kitts. If I may, just very quickly to follow up on the matter of road usage and bus terminals. As persons who use the roads in Basse would realize, we are in the process of installing some new traffic lights, and I have already gotten some calls from some constituents in relation to the situation for the Monkey Hill St. Peter's buses. And so just so, as you know, those the pickup point tends to be the College Street gut, around College Street gut by Kearn Street. And so we as a government have begun to look at the possibility of establishing I guess a North Line bus terminal somewhere in that vicinity, as those buses would have to be moved from where they normally are now to accommodate the new traffic lights and the flow of traffic. So there are a lot of changes that we're going through as a people, particularly downtown Bastille, as we grow, as we develop. Due to traffic lights, we already have a shortage of parking, and that would be another issue. But we are very much aware of it. We are trying to come up with as many resolutions for these, and we will be partnering with the private sector and private individuals, because I do believe that the opportunities for persons to be a part of that and to benefit from potential opportunities that come out of these resolutions.
Thank you for that, Minister Powell. Minister Byron Nisbet, in responding to the invitation, I guess you can also respond to the final caller.
Sure. Thank you very much, Jackie. Yes, I would just like to say thanks for that invite, but I would also like to tell the caller that just like education on Nevis, there is also the Ministry of Health, which is now being headed by the Honorable Hazel Brandy Williams. And I just want to let you know as well that one of the first things that I did once taking the position, assuming the position as Minister of Health, was have a meeting with the Permanent Secretary Minister and other persons within the Ministry of Health in Nevis. And that meeting I thought was a very fruitful meeting as we work towards making sure that both ministries of health on St Kitts and Nevis collaborate and work together more closely. I am happy to say that we have been sharing resources, we have been sharing ideas and thoughts, we have been sharing different ways in which we can improve the health system across the Federation. And so both ministries work very closely together, and both permanent secretaries are always back and forth in terms of whatever the needs may be. And so I am sure we will continue to do the same, stay on that same path with continuing to work closely together. But of course I will visit at some point. I did promise the minister that I will come over and visit, so then there is an outstanding promise that I have to keep and head over to Nevis, not to just visit the hospital there, but there are also the 6 health centers on Nevis as well that I would like to be able to visit as well, because if we're going to be working closely together, we need to be able, both islands, to see what is it, the infrastructure, what are the different nuances between both ministries in terms of hospitals and even health centers. What can we learn from each other? And so I would encourage not just me coming over, but I also would encourage the minister and her permanent secretary to come over as well. That's something that I would try to set up and have done. In terms of the card in home, you can hold me to that. That is a promise that I've made even before assuming the position as Minister of Health. I believe it is important. I remember as a child, the Carding Home was a playground for myself and my family members, my cousins and siblings. And so I see it as important for us to ensure that the health of our elderly is of utmost importance to everyone. And so just today, even, we would have had a discussion on the capital projects as it relates to health. Number one of the items being the Carding Home. And so we will be working towards seeing exactly what needs to be done. And I want to thank the minister with the responsibility for public works and public infrastructure in advance. His team was indeed with us today, and made some commitments to working along with the Ministry of Health, not just with the Carding Home, but with other capital projects that we have. And so I want to thank him in advance for helping us to move the Carding Home project along. In terms of the hospital and the turnaround time, I would be happy to report that in terms of the turnaround time, yes, I agree that, our nurses and our doctors, they're doing their best. I must admit that. Having been there, I realize that for the most part, our doctors and our nurses, they give it their all. And given the resources that they have to work with, they have been doing a fantastic job. And I just want to thank them for the work that they continue to do. They get a lot of flack sometimes, but it's because of the field that they're in, which touches people's lives in a very special and important way. But they have been doing their utmost best, and they continue to do their utmost best. And so we just have to provide other resources and other ways and means by which we can improve the services of the hospital as well as the health centers. And one of the ways that we intend to do that is through the implementation of the health information system. I know persons have heard me speak about it quite some time now, but I'm happy to report that that project is well on its way, and the team have been working diligently to make sure that we are able to bring on stream that health information system in the soonest way, quickest way, safest way, and to ensure that the services are indeed improved by the introduction of this health information system. As I've said before, with the health information system, each person who visits our health facilities, and every citizen by extension, will receive their own unique medical ID. So whether you visit our hospital at GNF, or you visit Mary Childs, or you visit Pogson, or you visit any of our health centers, your medical records follow you wherever you go. And so it gives the doctors a better better able to diagnose whatever your illness may be based on your past history as well. And so that's an improvement that we're trying to implement within the health system, and I believe it will go a long way in terms of helping with the turnaround time at A&E in particular. And so I just want persons to be patient with us. We know that many persons have complained about issues within the health system, but I am working towards that. Our team is working to make sure that we are able to improve the services, first of all, that we offer, because we want to make sure that we put our people first and the quality is always top-notch. And so we're working towards that. And so in short order, you should be hearing more information about the health information system. And I know persons will be so pleased, because I have so many persons who ask, why do I have to keep giving you the same information every time I come here? I'm tired of giving you the same information. But with your medical ID in the health information system, you wouldn't have to do that. Once you present your health ID, they will be able to pull up all of the information that we need to know about you in order to care for you. And so we're looking forward to that being implemented, and I am sure, of course, we're going to educate the public a lot more on what it does and how it works and how your experience will change at the hospital once we do bring it on board. So there's some work that is being done right now to make that improvement happen, and so the turnaround time will be better as a result of that.
I think I would also add that sometimes the legitimate reasons as to why the turnaround might seem to be a little long. You don't know, for example, the patient who has gone in before you, the nature of the illness that patient is there for, and how long it is going to take the medical professionals to be able to provide service to that particular individual. Additionally, I suppose that when you live in a society such as ours, which is somewhat small, there are advantages and disadvantages in terms of the health system. For the most part, it is relatively cheap to access the services at JNF Hospital, and maybe that is one of the reasons that for every little thing, we tend to go to the hospital. We have a belly ache, and yes, we may never know, what is the cause of it, and so we want to take the necessary precautions, but we have a belly ache, we have a headache, whatever it is bothering us, we tend to go to the hospital. And so in some other places, those particular cases may have been treated differently, or maybe because of the cost of the service, persons would do a little reevaluation as to whether or not, it is of a serious enough nature for me to visit the hospital. However, in our society, we have a number of clinics which operate in the day, and the hospital, which of course is there to provide a 24-hour service, we tend to take advantage of it. What is important, though, is the quality of healthcare, the quality of service that one is able to receive. And so while the wait might be a little long, I think the more important factor is whether or not you get service, and if you get quality service coming from the health professionals at the hospital. We are not saying that there are not ways in which we can improve upon the service, and of course we are always mindful of that, and we will always try to ensure that persons get the best possible treatment. And so we welcome, of course, the concerns, the comments from the callers, but you heard the minister indicating that the persons who work at the JNF, she has seen them in action, and the majority of them are indeed committed to their work and try as best as possible to provide the best service to all persons utilizing the services at JNF, or be it Paxson or the Mary Charles facility in the Molineux area.
And at this stage, we're going to take a break. And when we come back, we will address some of the messages we've received via WhatsApp, and it's quite a bit of messages. So we will try our best to get through as many of them as possible. We started a little late, so we're going to go as far as we can to accommodate all the questions, concerns, and inputs being put to us. So Hold on, don't move, don't touch that dial. I will be right back.
Thanks to the nation's unified response, the spread of COVID-19 has been contained. St Kitts and Nevis, therefore, announces the opening of their border on October 31st, 2020. The success of this strategy requires effort on everyone's part. People from all walks of life must keep practicing social distancing. Maintain a separation of 6 feet or 2 meters indoors and 3 to 4 feet or 1 meter outdoors. If this isn't possible, masks must be properly worn. Businesses can provide hand sanitizer, conduct temperature checks, record customers' contact information, and manage crowds. Clean and sanitize high-touch areas regularly. Dividers or staggered seating can be used to maintain proper social distance. This protects workers and customers and prevents the spread of disease. We all have an individual and collective responsibility to avoid large social gatherings. These types of gatherings are deemed as super spreader events. Taking disease prevention seriously will enable a worry-free return to normal life.
We are all in this together.
And we all have a part to play to keep our island COVID-free.
Play your part and stay safe and healthy.
Our borders will soon be reopened. Get ready.
So what are you doing to keep St Kitts COVID-free?
Before touching the mask, clean hands with an alcohol-based hand rub or soap and water. Take the mask and inspect it for tears or holes. Orient which side is the top side, where the metal strip is. Ensure the proper side of the mask faces outwards, the colored side. Place the mask to your face. Pinch the metal strip or stiff edge of the mask so it molds to the shape of your nose. Pull down the mask's bottom so it covers your mouth and your chin. After use, take off the mask. Remove the elastic loops from behind the ears while keeping the mask away from your face and clothes. To avoid touching potentially contaminated surfaces of the mask, discard the mask in a closed bin immediately after use.
Thanks to the nation's unified response, the spread of COVID-19 has been contained. St Kitts and Nevis, therefore, announces the opening of their border on October 31st, 2020. The success of this strategy requires effort on everyone's part. Therefore, self-health management is an important step in this process. Self-health management refers to the measures people take to manage their own health. You and I should remember to wash hands often with soap and water, or use alcohol-based hand sanitizer. Avoid touching your eyes, mouth, and nose. Take your temperature morning and evening. Watch for symptoms. Persons with diabetes or hypertension are reminded to take your medication regularly as prescribed. If you have no symptoms, you may carry out your normal routine and boost your immune system. When you are outside, avoid public spaces and wear a mask at all times. If you develop symptoms, put on a mask and seek medical care. Do not take public transportation. Inform the doctor of your travel history, any contact with confirmed or suspected cases, your occupation, and whether anyone around you has similar symptoms. If you become ill, please rest at home. Wear a mask and isolate yourself from others in your household. If you share a bathroom, disinfect daily using 1 part bleach to 10 parts water. Everyone must work together to reduce the spread of the coronavirus when our border has been opened.
As we get ready to serve, it is important that we improve our vehicles to ensure the safety of our guests and ourselves. Outfit your vehicle with appropriate dividers to separate driver from passenger. Plexiglass or Velcro plastic divider may be used. Have a minimum of 2 hand sanitizers, 1 for you and 1 for your guests. Always carry extra mask and disinfectant in your vehicle, and post signs to remind passengers to use hand sanitizers and wear their mask and follow social distancing protocols.
When providing a service, it is important that the hands of the passengers are sanitized before entering the vehicle. Remember, a mask must always be worn by all occupants of the vehicle for the duration of the trip. At the end of the trip, remember to wish your passengers a good day. Ensure they have left no personal items behind and sanitize their hands.
Once you have completed your trip, remember to sanitize your hands and your vehicle. Seats must be disinfected and all high-touch areas, such as doors and seat handles, must be sanitized before your next trip. Let's do all we can to keep ourselves and our visitors safe.
Thanks to the nation's unified response, the spread of COVID-19 has been contained. St Kitts and Nevis, therefore, announces the opening of their border on October 31st, 2020. The success of this strategy requires effort on everyone's part. People from all walks of life must keep practicing social distancing. Maintain a separation of 6 feet or 2 meters indoors and 3 to 4 feet or 1 meter outdoors. If this isn't possible, masks must be properly worn. Businesses can provide hand sanitizer.
Welcome back to this special edition of Leadership Matters, which marks the 6th anniversary of the Team Unity Coalition administration, and they're also celebrating their 2nd consecutive term, having been successful first in 2015 and again in 2020. My name is Jacqueline Bryan. I'm your host this evening, and we have Deputy Prime Minister, the Honorable Sean Richards, who's hosting this program today. And he is joined by 2 of his cabinet colleagues, the youngest members of cabinet rather, the Honorable Akila Byron Nisbet and the Honorable Janelle Powell. But being young does not mean that they're inexperienced, because they both served in the previous administration with different caps. We have a number of messages that came through our WhatsApp platform. I shared those with the panelists before we returned during the break. And so what I'm going to do is just give you an idea of what the question is, and they will respond. The first question is for Deputy Prime Minister Sean Richards, and he's asked to explain the water problems or challenges being faced in Cayon. And a question that was put to the Honorable Janelle Powell about when schools will go back to normal was previously addressed. So, Deputy Prime Minister.
Yes, let me make an attempt to answer a number of the messages that you would have received via WhatsApp. You spoke about the caller who has asked, or maybe I should say the texter, who has asked about the water challenges in Kayan. The government has admitted on a number of occasions that there are challenges with the provision of water in Kayan. This is an ongoing challenge. It has happened not just under this government but under previous administration. However, we have also given a commitment to bring a resolution to this issue. What has happened is that the supply of water isn't sufficient to supply the persons living in the community of Kayan. We get water from different sources. We have basically in St Kitts groundwater sources, so we have wells, and we also have what we refer to as reservoirs also being supplying persons here in St Kitts with water. As communities grow, as communities expand, as you have more hotels being built, more business places coming on stream, of course the demand for water increases. NHC has been building more homes. Again, that has placed pressure on the demand for water, not just within the Kayan community, because we have similar issues in a number of other communities here in St Kitts. So essentially what has happened in Kayan is that the supply isn't sufficient at this particular point in time to meet the full demand. As I said, we are committed to bringing a resolution to it, and it is for that reason why in December of last year we signed a contract to do two things. One, we have Shadwell 2, which is a groundwater source, a well. That well hasn't been brought on stream because we have encountered issues with the quality of the water coming from Shadwell 2. The contract calls for some exports to be on island very shortly, and it just so happened that 7 o'clock this evening I had a call from the main contractor involved in that project, BEAD, indicating that as of the 15th of March, BEAD expects to have some of the necessary persons on island to begin to rectify the issue at Shadwell 2. Initially, when we looked at Shadwell 2, we said if Shadwell 2 comes online, it should be able to bring some sense of temporary relief to the people of Kayan, because we will be able to feed water into the St. Peter's community, and there is a line which connects Kayan to St. Peter's. So that will help with resolving the situation in Kayan. However, for us, that isn't a permanent solution. It isn't where ideally we would want to be. Hence, the second part of the contract involves the drilling of a well in Kayan. So after Shadwell 2 has been corrected, that should begin very shortly. The gentleman indicated to me that perhaps if not this evening, by tomorrow, he's going to send a Gantt chart. For those who might be familiar with that, it basically gives a deadline in terms of projects and implementation, what should happen, whether it is within the first week, what you can expect to see at the end of week 2, week 3, week 4, etc. So we are indeed moving quickly ahead in terms of bringing a resolution to that particular matter in Kayan. I continue to say to the people of Kayan, I know it is an issue that you would want some relief as soon as possible, but you have the commitment of this Team Unity administration to bring a solution to you, the people of Kayan, and as I stated, a contract has already been signed to undertake the necessary work. One of the callers asked about a 6-lane highway around the entire island of St Kitts, and also
it's a 6-lane highway with straight roads running from Bastyr to Diepbe, and they are suggesting that it run behind Kayan to cut down the amount of time it takes to get to Diepbe.
I think in the first instance we need to be practical. St Kitts has limited resources, financially and otherwise. Apart from having limited resources, the need to build a highway and determining how many lanes you would want to have on that particular highway, of course, would come from looking at the necessary traffic studies. How many vehicles do you have? What are the times of the day that persons utilize the road network? Is it a priority at this particular point in time? Now, in the first instance, I don't believe that we have the traffic to support a 6-lane highway. And even if you had the traffic to do so, can you get a straight road from Basti to Dietbe? Because you also have to look at the configuration of St Kitts and Nevis. Whether it is you're going to look at the topography, whether it is you're going to look at how the island is shaped, that, of course, those factors must be taken into consideration. You have quite a bit of guts, for example, and we see them as we traverse the island, be it from Basti to Dietbe or in the opposite direction. But I think the main point is there a need for such? Do you have the traffic which would necessitate building a 6-lane highway? And I don't believe that we do. Because we have something in China, and I think the person referenced China. Because you have something in China doesn't mean that you need it in St. Kitts. You can compare the number of vehicles in China to that here in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis.
What they were referencing is that China is currently building one for Jamaica. They're saying that they saw on YouTube that China is building a state-of-the-art 6-lane highway, just like one you'd find in the US in Jamaica.
If we take Jamaica, for example, again, you have a much larger number of vehicles in Jamaica compared to St. Kitts. You leave from one part of Jamaica to drive to the next, it can take you hours. That isn't the case here in St. Kitts and Nevis. There are times it may take you maybe 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 minutes longer, depending on what is happening on the roads. But to say it's going to take you that length of time to get from one place to St. Kitts, that is hardly ever the situation here. We have just invested $69 million to improve the road network, in particular the Island Main Road. In a number of different instances, you have had the widening of the roads throughout the different communities. Again, that is to ensure that if you have an accident, at least you have some level of room on the road so that you can maneuver your vehicles. We have put in sidewalks to accommodate persons. We have put in traffic lights. Again, it is because of we have recognized that we have a level of congestion, in particular in the Basti area, because you don't see that same level of congestion in other communities. What you may have in some of the other communities would be the fact that you have persons parking along the Island Main Road, and so those are issues that we need to look at separately. I have had a complaint, for example, from persons from within my own constituency, Sandy Point, about the need for a bypass road in Sandy Point. And I think that is a legitimate concern, but it doesn't mean that in terms of addressing that issue, you need a 4-lane highway or 6 in the Sandy Point community.
You also had a question about whether they wanted an update on the bridge to Nevis and boarding bridges at the RLB airport, suggesting that maybe you might want to put in 6 of them, as well as to extend the airport to 4 times its present size, or construct a big modern terminal added to this present terminal at the airport.
The bridge to Nevis is still very much on the agenda for this Team Unity administration. Yes, we have not commissioned or built a bridge as yet, but it is something that we continue to look at. As I said earlier, we have scarce resources, and so we have to determine how we spend those particular resources. However, we still remain committed to it. In terms of building an airport 4 times the size of what we currently have, again, it comes down to whether or not such is necessary. Do we have the traffic at the airport? Do we have, even in normal times, outside of COVID, even in normal times, is there the need to have an airport terminal 4 times the size? I would posit that we don't have the traffic that would say to us we need to expand the airport to the extent that the person is suggesting. I'm not saying that there may not be a need for some expansion of the airport to provide more room and more facilities at the airport, but not to the extent that the person is suggesting. The bridgeways, of course, they are more convenient in terms of being able to go from certain types of aircraft into the terminal, and at some point in time maybe that may come. But at this particular point in time,